You know what state?
Yes, I do. Episode 144, 12 times 12 of Seddy Bimco, celebrating revenge in all its myriad forms. We craft revenge sequels for movies that never had them. And we're in the middle of a tour of the 50 nifty United States. Today's movie representing the state of Oklahoma is Weird Al's own UHF.
From 1989.
From 1989. Yes, I should mention that.
And as you know, I give a...
Oh, wait, let's introduce ourselves, Tim. Oh, wait, we're doing
That's
this
later. That's later.
Yeah.
If you don't know...
Yeah, I got confused.
You got to stay to find out who we are. My age-old question about revenge.
Uh-huh.
I think you're going to give this negative stars, but here we go.
Ooh, we've established I can't give less than one, so this is going to be really bad.
To the woman who had an OCD problem, which are serious, take care of those people.
Yeah, you shouldn't be making fun of these people.
I'm not, but this woman, she had OCD. She had a problem washing her hair obsessively, like 20 times a day.
Oh, this is sad.
I know, but did she get revenge on her therapist who wouldn't take her insurance because her policy didn't cover pre-existing conditioners?
Oh, okay.
It's Seddy Bimco Part 2, The Revenge. The show where we create revenge sequels that nobody wanted.
Hey, it's Seddy Bimco, Part 2, The Revenge. The only podcast that gives revenge sequels to movies that never had them. You know, and I'm Tim Hamilton.
That's right, you are.
And this is...
And I'm George O'Connor. We are both cartoonists. So what better... It means we're good at drawing. So, of course, we have a podcast with no visuals.
We've been on TV. Clues on Jeopardy. George has met many people. Mr.
Mr. Who? This is good stuff. Tim is excellent at going off script.
Pinocchio. He made Pinocchio, and he made...
Guillermo del Toro?
Yeah, Guillermo del Toro.
That's your one go-to for me, huh? Guillermo del Toro. George met Guillermo del Toro. Tim was... That's all you need. That's what it's going to say on our Wikipedias. Tim's Wikipedia, of course, is currently missing. It's been taken down by nefarious forces. But if it was there, it would say Tim Hamilton was once a clue on Jeopardy. And if you go to my Wikipedia, which last I checked is still there, I hope somebody has added George has met Mr. Del Toro.
Yeah. Mine would say all my heroic deeds. Brag about ourselves.
Like almost passing out when your wife cut her finger making cheese.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Previous episode. Go listen. We have a rich backlog, folks. Did you hear this? This is episode 144. Now, before you get too excited, I'm probably only on about 60 of those.
90. We used to split this up into season 1 and 2. We're at episode 90 of season 2.
Wow. But then, if every time you get mad at me, you kick me off and you bring on Kevin Cablasto, and that's happened a lot. So
that's also why I'm a hero.
Yeah, because Kevin Cablasto. All right. So if you didn't catch from our theme song and my description, we are in the middle of a tour of the 50 nifty United States. So, and in fact, when I say the middle, we're getting pretty close to the end. We have done representatives for a lot of states.
A lot of states.
And what we do in this is it's kind of evolved. You know, I freaking do oral reports about the state. So before we get into the movie UHF, which was filmed almost entirely in Tulsa, Oklahoma, let's get into Oklahoma facts.
Oklahoma. Right. I have one thing to say before we get to Oklahoma.
Is it going to be about the musical? Because I know you're going to mention a lot about the musical. And I'll just tell you, Tim, I know nothing about the musical.
You didn't watch the clip I sent you?
No.
Oh, how could you not know this music? Because that's Wolverine singing, "Oh, Judd is dead."
You know what, Tim? Actually,
Judd
maybe
Fry's
I do.
Dead.
I just this past week, I took my mom to see the current revival of Cabaret on Broadway. Oh. And that was a show I was like, I'd never really seen Cabaret before. I guess I'd seen little clips of the movies and stuff and things. But I'm like, I know every song in this almost. Yeah. So maybe I know Oklahoma.
They put Oklahoma.
By the way, if you're in New York, go see Cabaret. It was excellent.
I'll go too.
Yeah, you should go, Tim, right now.
Well, what I wanted to say was this movie came out in 1989, 12 years after Star Wars changed the world. Yeah. Nope. Each episode, we tell you how far out from Star Wars this movie is, forward or backward in time.
Unless it gets the math too tricky, in which case you just, what is it, Last Temptation of Christ? No. I don't know. Who cares?
Oklahoma. Where the wind comes rushing through the fields.
So here's some facts, which none of these so far as I know have anything to do with the musical, because, again, I know nothing of the musical. Oklahoma is the 46th state, and it only became a state in 1907.
I know
this
that.
Is all you knew. It probably does, because I imagine, without looking, Oklahoma the musical is about the Oklahoma land grab.
No.
Am I right? No? Okay.
Well,
so basically...
a little bit. The cowboy and the farmer don't like each other because the farmer is setting up fences and land, and the cowboy wants to rustle those cattle. So a little bit.
Okay. That's not really... So basically...
And this love story, because Judd, you're like, Judd is dead.
But Judd is dead. Yeah.
Yes. So anyway.
Yeah, I know that from you singing to me like every time we see each other last week.
But they sing it to him while he's alive. That's the thing. He's trying to convince him people will miss him. Continue.
It's like George from It's a Wonderful Life.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I wish I was never born, Mr. Gower. So it was intended to be an all Native American state for a long time. This is real. I'm not making this up. From 1834, it was established as a Native American land, right?
Okay.
And so from 1834 until ostensibly 1907, but they did start opening up to white settlers in what were called the land grabs. So they would literally, it was like races. They would have the people run in there and they grab land. Then they would all start from the same spot. Oklahoma literally even means it's a Choctaw word meaning red people. Now that's super appropriate because modern day Oklahoma is Republican as fuck.
So it's red.
It's a very red state. Yeah.
It's red.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, currently, as we are recording this, they are moving to require students to have proof of U.S. citizenship, which is pretty bold move for a state that was, it's like stolen land from Native Americans.
High school?
Yeah, any student age. Because they want to, deport people.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Biggest city in Oklahoma and the capital is Oklahoma City.
Okay.
The entire state has a population of just over 4 million people, so more than Brooklyn itself, but less than New York City. Oklahomans, this is what they're known as. Residents are known as Oklahomans, Oklahoma sapiens, Okla heteros, because they don't go with that gay stuff.
Yes.
Oreos, Okies, Okie dokies, Oakley dokalies, Okays, and Mez. Let's see what else. It's the site of two of the greatest tragedies in U.S. history, the Tulsa Race Massacre of 1921, where all the white people killed all the black people. That's a fun story. And the Oklahoma City building of 1995, where Timothy McVeigh blew up a federal building and killed 185 people, I think, and a bunch of kids. So
you're making
Oklahoma.
This fun.
I am making this fun.
George.
Well, here's the fun stuff. Oklahoma, its state mottos is, I guess we're kind of okay. And you can't spell mediocre without okay, which is ironic because you absolutely can spell mediocre with it. Yeah.
It's a place where you can sit and talk and watch a hawk making lazy circles in the sky.
Reference to the musical, I guess. Tim, do you want to talk about the state seal and state flag?
The flag is simply a ripoff, on Native American imagery like a shield and a peace pipe. So I'm not sure if somebody was being mean or if there's a Native American on the council of the legislature. Or
maybe it's from back. Yeah, maybe it's back from when it was actually an Indian territory before white people whited.
Yep. And the seal, it's very complex. Got a lot of Native American imagery, but of course there's an image of a white man shaking hands with the Native American because he had no choice.
Is it drawn in the typical fashion where it's like kind of like this, like, yeah, that's the best artist you had back then?
Actually, some of
the state seals are.
It's the nicest artistic depiction of a seal I've seen. I hate to give them that.
Wow.
If you look at it.
Way to go, Oklahoma.
Like watercolors on a simple drawing. Are you looking at it?
No, I'm gonna now
seal.
Though. Yeah, state. Oh, I can't type.
People in Oklahoma know they belong to the land, and the land they belong to is grand.
The state seal I see is like just thousands of stars.
No,
it's
Oklahoma?
like a big star. Yeah, I'm literally looking seal of Oklahoma.
No, look, I'm looking at it. Oh, I see what you see, but see the drawings? They're kind of nice. They're kind of like...
Oh, the ones on the inside. Okay.
Yeah, I like them, whether it's a mistake or not. It looks like watercolor on some ink drawings.
I see what you're doing. Yeah, when you zoom in. You're right. Okay, yeah, Tim, you're right. All. You had to zoom in. Yeah, okay. I was just looking at the whole, but you're talking about the individual illustrations. So we're all agree. Everyone's right,
looking
Tim.
at the whole. Always looking
buddy.
That's George.
I'm going to isolate that sound clip and use it against you. Let's see. The first elevator in Oklahoma was in Oklahoma City in 1908 in the Huckins Hotel. The first streetcar was in 1903, also in Oklahoma City. The best cryptid I could find in Oklahoma, this is pretty exciting, is the Oklahoma octopus. It lives in Lake Thunderbird. And yes, a Thunderbird. Yeah, it's. I read the description of it. It's normally described as being rust brown, about the size of a horse, and looks like a shark with tentacles, which doesn't sound like an octopus. And it lives in fresh water and it eats people. And also it lives in Lake Thunderbird. A Thunderbird's a cryptid too, so I guess I read Thunderbirds used to be in there, but yeah.
And it used to be an X-Man.
Yeah, but then they were clay, and then they died fighting Count Nefaria. Nerds.
I do want to mention the musical, by the way. There's a musical made about Oklahoma. It's the first musical by Rodgers and Hammerstein, based on the 1931 play Green Grows the Lilacs. It's a romance, but also about the farmer and the cowhand not getting along.
Definitely reading this.
Opened in 1942, was a smash hit. It was revived in 1999 with Hugh Jackman, a Wolverine fan, who played Curly McLean. And he sang.
Oh, he didn't play Bud or whoever
Judd
the guy died.
Is dead.
Oh, Judd.
No, he plays Curly. He sings. He sings about Judd being dead.
Folks,
Or
peek
Judd
behind the
Fry.
SETI curtain. I can't mention to you how many times Tim has sang this little bit or mentioned Hugh Jackman. It's so many times.
And you
I'm
didn't
going to
even
publish
listen.
our text messages. No, of course not.
Well, this movie.
Yeah.
The movie.
All right, so this movie, yeah. UHF.
What is
1989
UHF for our children listeners?
Well,
Did you even look
I'm
it
glad
up?
you're out. Yeah, I did. So for those of you who don't know, okay, back in the day of broadcast television, there was the dial, because you used to actually have to tune into actual frequencies that were broadcast over the air from radio stations or TV stations. There was VHF, which I think stood for very high frequency, and then UHF, which stood for ultra high frequency.
Nice.
VHF was where the more desirable stations were, and that's where network affiliates would.
You could watch Mary Tyler Moore.
If that was indeed a network. Yep. Oh, Tim, there's so much old stuff in this for you, Tim. I'm so happy for you.
So much old
and
stuff.
UHF was something like you would, I remember as a kid when we had broadcast TV, UHF was it seemed like local access television stuff, old reruns. I like what you see in this thing.
Well, for kids out there used to be local access. You have YouTube now, but you used to be able to go to your local station, learn how everything worked, and have your own show that you could host on that channel. That's
yeah, and actually, apparently it still exists, which is amazing.
Okay.
To me. I looked at it speaks in, but I mean, who knows about it? But Tim, this brings up my first list.
Whoa, we haven't got going.
I know, but UHF, because we did feel like we had to explain UHF, which this is a terrible name for the movie. Did you see that it was going to be released in Europe as The Vidiot? That's better.
That is a bit better. Yeah.
Because at least, even when I saw this as a kid, I didn't really know what UHF was 100%. It's like I kind of did. It's like, oh, okay. I remember seeing them on my TV. All right, so here is a list of what UHF is an anagram for. Number 1, ultra high frequency. We already did that.
Okay.
Number 2, forgot. See what I did there? UHF, forgot.
Wow.
Meta.
I like it.
Number 3, uncannily hairy females. Number 4, unicorns hate fellatio. Number 5.
To your Google searches. Come on.
Number 5, underwear has flavor. Number 6, you having fun. Number 7, umbrella helps falling. Number 8, umpires have feelings. And number 9, Hamilton farted. That has been my list of UHF anagrams.
Nice.
Yeah. Should I read a description of what this movie's about?
Your lists are getting better.
Thank you.
Well, this has.
Can you do
a synopsis?
I'll give a synopsis. Yeah. I copied it off of IMDb. An unemployed visionary becomes the manager of a local television station. The station becomes a success with all sorts of hilarious sight gags and wacky humor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And Weird Al's in it playing George Newman. I'm going to call him George Al. I don't know, through the whole thing.
Yeah, we're going to go back and forth for sure. We might
David
want to stick
Bowie.
with Al because it will be confusing.
Okay.
With the George Newman bit.
Not David Bowie, but David Bow.
Can I tell you something?
What?
Well, yeah, there's a guy in this movie. He's like the third or fourth bill guy named David Bow. Now, I've seen this movie before. I saw this, I think maybe in the theaters when I was a kid with my friend Bob, which is hilarious because the two main characters are George and Bob. So we must have been like, woohoo. And
that's a sign.
I didn't remember a lot of it, though. So watching this the other day, I'm just, I'm writing notes as I'm watching this. I'm excited. It's like, wow, it's an MGM Orion film. This is a real movie. We never see these. And I see the name David Bowie come up, and I read as David Bowie.
Yeah, I did.
And I spent this entire movie being like, when the hell does David Bowie pop up?
No.
And I couldn't. And in my head, I had concocted a whole thing that David Bowie appears at the end when the limousine pulls up, and it was him. And I'm like, oh, yeah, he's that. Like, that doesn't happen.
No.
I made up a whole thing, and it's just
you thought he'd be there to do a parody song, huh?
No, I thought it would just. And that was the thing. I was thinking, like, I guess Weird Al did a David Bowie song. Yep. I'm like, I was trying to think, like, what would it be like? Like, what would it be like? Space.
You're still
Odyssey?
thinking that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know. Let's make a list, right? Let's do a list on the top 10 Weird Al David Bowie parody songs. Go, Tim. You go first.
David Bowie. And the Spiders.
Return of the Thin White Duck. How about that? It's about. Yeah, all right. You go now.
Thin White Duck?
Yeah.
David Bowie and the Spiders from Jars. Because he keeps the spiders in jars.
How about the comic strip Ziggy Sure Does Suck instead of Ziggy Stardust?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, all right. What else we got?
David Bowie and the spiders from Cars. He keeps the spiders in cars.
You can't keep doing these. All right. This is why we don't do impromptu lists, Tim. All right.
That's going to be all right. Number 3 was a killer, George.
Let's hear number 3.
No,
I want to hear number 3.
You ruined it.
No, I want to hear number 3. Was
so
it the spiders from Flars?
No, you'll never know. There's people pre-famous in here. We got Fran Drescher, the nanny, and Michael Richards, who became famous playing Kramer on on.
What's going on? Uh-oh, everybody. Tim's got the giggles. What show? Did you forget the show?
Seinfeld.
You almost said Mad About You.
Seinfeld. Well, they existed in the same universe, George. Mad About You. You know that,
we've
right?
talked about it. Yeah.
Mad
there was that one
You.
episode where Jerry showed up and seduced Helen Hunt.
Yes.
Yeah. He kissed her giant forehead and swept her off.
They took their dog for a walk and brought it back just to be weird.
And then Paul Reiser, he got Sigourney Weaver to go back to that planet, and then the aliens came. So the movie opens up.
Yeah.
Wait, what? Go on.
Well, you look up the DVD today, and it's got Fran Drescher and Michael Richards on the cover because they're both super famous now.
Is that true?
Now, you look, they're in the corner. Weird Al still got the face, but
yeah. So the movie. So if you don't know, I mean, I think everybody knows. Apparently, I did some reading about Weird Al, and he's like, I guess, the most successful music recording artist of all time at this point.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's had this amazing career. Like, he was like he is a song parody guy he's in the Guinness Book of World Records for having top 10 hits in like every decade since the 80s, which is like insane. Yeah. So this was his first movie. And he's turned, it's directed by a guy named Jay Levy, who is I looked him up. He's apparently Weird Al's manager, and he's directed like half of his videos, it seems.
I see. This explains.
And it was written by Weird Al and Jay Levy and Charles Holloway. And it's basically they're doing like Weird Al's videos like as a movie. So it opens up with like a shot-for-shot recreation almost of the opening of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yep.
Where it's like, Weird Al's in the fedora and he's walking through the jungle, and like the guy behind him pulls the gun out, he turns around and whips his arm off.
That's funny.
My favorite movie, as we've said, is Raiders of the Lost Ark. So I was enjoying this part.
I have a note here because this is when in the credits appeared the words Billy Barty. Right, when the arm was cut off, because I have that right here. Yeah, I'm so excited that Billy Barty's in this.
Yeah, welcome back to the pot. You know, Billy Barty may be our most frequently appearing actor at this point. There's at least 3 movies he's been prominently featured in.
Happy Hooker Goes to Washington, and I forget the other ones, but
yeah,
and he comes up a lot.
Yeah. So yeah, and like it's the whole scene, you know, in Indiana Jones. You've seen it in Raiders of the Lost Ark where he's getting the statue. It's an Oscar here.
It's an Oscar, yeah.
He gets out, the boulder comes racing down after him, and then there's a really weird montage of the boulder chases him through
funny.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. And then he gets run over finally in like the streets of Oklahoma. Pretty gruesome.
Yeah, he's flat.
Yeah, he's all like smushed. It's not just like his head there. Like they made a rubber version of him, and then it like kind of segues to a shot of a hamburger grilling, and we see that George, because his name is George Newman, is just at this hamburger place.
I'm going to call him Al Newman George. Make it easy.
Al
George Newman.
Well, it's funny you say that because apparently the character is named Newman after Alfred Newman.
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah, so calling him Al Newman is kind of like what the character's named after.
Can I say one thing before we go further? Before I forget.
Oh, I don't know. What?
We usually look at horrible movies on this podcast.
Oh,
and this movie's not great, but I like that Weird Al exists, and I appreciate he did what he loved doing. I'm not a hater. I'm not a super fan, and I hope he knows if he's listening. I enjoyed the movie, but I have some criticisms. So there you go. Just wanted to say.
Oh yeah. I mean,
I'm not being mean.
No, we're not going to be. And like, also, I'm also going to say, I don't think we're going to go. I think by virtue, this movie is a series of loosely connected sight gags, like a lot of it. So we might make mentions. Funny ones. Yeah, there were some parts.
We had a meeting beforehand. See,
we had a big meeting. We talked with our sensitivity trainers. Tim brought in an intimacy coach. There was a lot of stuff going on. We wanted to make sure we didn't ruffle any feathers here.
So
then I said terrible things about Oklahoma, and it all went right out the window.
Cut it all out.
Like, for instance, here's a bit. I'm going to go into some controversial territory.
Okay.
So we see George working at this burger place. He works there with his best friend, Bob, who I didn't realize was Bob yet, and I just wrote his name down as Balding Mullet. This guy.
You didn't mistake him for David Bowie? Come on.
No, I really didn't know. Like, I went the entire movie because I was watching to the last scene, expecting David Bowie to show. I never knew who this guy was. And at the end, I'm like, who the fuck was in this movie that was supposed to... I thought maybe David Bowie got cut out. It was an after-credit scene, so I looked up on Wikipedia.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Cut out.
Because he shows up, he goes, what am I doing in this movie?
He met Nick Fury. Nick Fury said...
he's formerly of Stardusters. You could be Ziggy. So they're working at this place called Big Egg in this bird in heaven, and George is body shaming her, talking about how she's big and fat, and it's very mean. So Big Edna comes and grabs them and using superhuman strength throws them across the street. And this kind of establishes the movie.
Yeah.
So we're doing like a kind of what is that famous
Airplane?
No, I guess it is like Airplane in a way. I was thinking the guy who Walter Mitty. The Secret Life of Walter Mitty story. Yeah. We're doing a Walter Mitty story. It's also we're existing in a very cartoony world because she throws these guys. She's like the Hulk.
Yes. That's I hate to be critical. I'm just being if he had stuck all the silly stuff in Walter Mitty world and the real world was like real, I think it would have.
I know what you're saying.
Better.
It's weird to have like the cartoony be in both areas because like there were bits I'm like, is this him hallucinating?
Yeah.
Or is this him in the real world?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What's your the shaming of her?
Yeah.
Yes.
But then I also made fun of his friend Bob for having a balding mullet.
I was worried because they live next to or downstairs from a karate school, and I was like, Asian stereotype. Yes. But they really didn't do much except he had a Japanese accent. They didn't do anything super terrible.
It's Geddy Watanabe. I don't know if you recognized him.
Yeah.
That's literally his voice.
Yeah.
He if you don't know him, folks, he's most infamous for playing Long Duck Dong and 16 Candles.
That's
which is not great, especially in that because you can tell by his name Watanabe, he's Japanese. He plays a Chinese person in that. Like it's but in this one, he's a karate guy, and his big line is "You're so stupid."
Yes,
which he says multiple times. Yeah.
Weird Al is dating Victoria Jackson from SNL fame in this movie.
Who I gotta say she was really cute in this movie.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, she looks really good.
But I don't know if you know about her life now. She criticized the show Glee for showing two male actors kissing, and
she's full on. She would fit right in Oklahoma legislature. Let's just say
She hates to see two men kissing. So
yeah, I think she wears a red hat.
George, that leads me to my first list.
Oh,
list of other things Victoria Jackson hates to see kissing.
Oh boy. Okay.
She hates to see two male men of the postal kind kissing. Okay.
All right. That sucks.
She hates to see two male Lamute dogs kissing. That's wrong. She hates to see two malapropisms pissing. Oh, I mean kissing. Yeah. See what I did there? I'm meta this week.
Tim is beaming. That's good.
So she makes a bunch of potatoes, and of course he makes them out in like Close Encounters, like Mr. whose name I don't remember did in Close Encounters.
Richard Dreyfuss, Tim.
Richard Dreyfuss.
And that was
Which
weird.
Is funny. I like that joke.
It was kind of funny, but like he didn't do anything with it.
No.
But there's no joke, and it just ends there. It's just kind of like, okay, we're just doing references. It's
a lot of his jokes don't push the plot. They're just jokes.
Yeah.
So
it's very Family Guy in that aspect, where it's just kind of like randomness, you know?
He's ahead of his time.
Oh my God. And it was animated. No, it wasn't. So next thing we see is George is at this party of his rich uncle Harvey and his aunt Esther.
Yeah.
Harvey has just won the. There's a lot of shit that happens. Like for some reason he's
just
feeding the dog from the punch bowl.
Yeah, I didn't know what that was about.
I didn't get it. It was probably a reference we're not catching. But the uncle is a big gambler, and he is in a poker game. He has just won the deed to Channel 62, which is an old UHF station on the edge of town in a poker game.
And he's always talking to a man on the phone who's dressed like the Kingpin, but we never see his face. He's got a hatchet
Louie.
For a hand.
Yeah,
that's who I thought. Maybe that's
who I thought.
Okay.
That's who I thought David Bowie was going to be. I honestly, while watching this movie, was because they never showed it. And it's like Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget. I'm like, we're gonna he's gonna pull up and he's gonna be David Bowie. And he's gonna cough and speak like David Bowie, not like the weird voice anymore. But no, that never happened.
So he wins it and wants to sell it, and for some reason his wife is like, Weird Al should run that place. You know, give it to him. I always wanted to own a TV station.
I mean, they never explicitly say it, but I definitely get the feeling Esther is his actual aunt and like Harvey is by his uncle by marriage, because she really loves him and is always like being very supportive of him. And Harvey doesn't give a shit. Harvey's a scumbag. Like he's just got. Yeah. I don't know who the actor is, but like we've seen him in everything because he always played like I'm the dodgy uncle. I smoke cigars and stuff. So next thing she just suggests George being the manager to come over, and then next thing we see George and Terry. It's middle of the night. Terry is Victoria Jackson. They arrive at the station, and there's this like old Jack Elam type wino.
Ooh, his name is Vance Colive in real life.
This guy, wow!
Did you read about him?
I did, and I forgot. There was some really cool.
Did a lot of cartoon voices for Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah, you're right. He was on Yogi Bear, right? He
did some voice there. And on January 5th, 1959, he became the first to portray Bozo the Clown on a franchised Bozo program licensed by Larry Harmon, who was the original Bozo. Enough about clowns. They meet Fran Drescher the next day. Oh, by the way, the bum, he's always asking people for money just so he can tie this plot together.
Oh, we also should mention this. They go inside the station, and there's like a weird mad scientist living there whose name is Philo. And he's like the station engineer. This is interesting. I'd never watched the show, but he is played by Luke of Luke and Laura of General Hospital fame.
I read that.
All I know about soap operas is that Luke and Laura's wedding was the most popular televised event of like all time, apparently. Wow. So this guy is like, he's like soap opera royalty, and he plays a weird mad scientist in this. He electrocutes George. Next day, George has dropped off Terry at home, and he shows up with Bob. And they meet Fran Drescher, who is she works at the station as like the receptionist, but really wants to be a newscaster.
Yep.
And then here's a good point of where you're talking about the weirdness. Like the movie starts interrupting with like ads of like just crazy
from the town and their crazy ads. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the town is full of idiots.
It's weird. Like it's a crazy Eddie's car salesman who wants to club seals. That's the whole joke.
Yep.
But it's like, okay, the idea behind this movie, as read in my description, is that this is a boring station that just plays Beverly Hillbillies reruns. Mm-hmm. And George, who's this weird dreamer, is supposed to bring strange programming in, and it becomes a weird hit. But we're already seeing weird programming on here before. It's just like...
Yeah, there's Spatula City where people go nuts to go buy spatulas.
Did you read the Spatula City story?
No, I didn't know there was a story.
So yeah, there's this weird commercial about Spatula City where it's like this long-running infomercial thing on this thing where people are like, buy 9 spatulas, get the 10th one free. And it's like people are about spatulas.
I remember that.
Is that what it was? Okay. And then they made an actual billboard outside of Tulsa for Spatula City. And in real life, all these people were stopping off the interstate looking for Spatula City.
What?
And they finally had to take it down because the local businesses were complaining that people were coming in going, where's Spatula City? So,
come on, are you making that up?
This is on IMDb trivia.
Knife City is right down the road.
Yeah, Knife City.
Can you imagine all the business you get if you put up a sign that said Knife City?
I mean, yeah, if spatula. This how funny is that? Like, how bored were people that ride down the road like, I need a spatula. So yeah, we meet Fran Drescher and stuff. We hear this weird commercial, but this is the important thing. George has taken a misdelivered package to Channel 8, which is the local network affiliate, and it's for R.J. Fletcher, who's the head of it. He's our bad guy.
He was the man who played the original lead role in Invasion of the Body Snatchers. So if you remember him, yeah.
I remember him more from the sequel where he had a cameo in it where he's running through.
He gets hit by a car.
He's definitely in Twilight Zone the movie, though I don't remember what part he plays.
I forget too.
Or maybe it's Creepshow. He's in something. Like, this guy's got a face, you know. He's like he's got that real sort of like great early 80s overacting ability. Like, and like real, like he probably always plays the guy who's in charge of the country club.
Yep.
Or like the rich kids camp or something. He's that sort of guy.
He was on Different Strokes, though.
You said that.
Sell bicycle to Willis.
Wait, is he the bicycle? Okay.
No.
His son, which I'm going to mention for my story, he has a son. He has a bunch of flunkies in his office with him.
Ooh, yeah.
His son, who actually has a couple good lines, he is the actor John Paragon. Know what he's best known for playing?
What?
Jambi the Genie from Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Oh, I would have never made that connection.
Oh, I didn't either. But like, I was reading about him. He was the one to be like, Mecca Lecca Hi, Mecca Heiny Ho, that guy.
Okay.
I love Pee-wee's Playhouse. So there's a lot of Pee-wee left the crossover in here.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And so this movie owes a lot to Pee-wee's Big Adventure, I should say, too. So we this is where we establish the bad guy. So George is showing up there to exchange his package. We see Fletcher in his office. He's getting all mad about a missing file he'd been working on. It was on the desk. He calls in the janitor, who is Kramer. His name in this movie is Stanley Spadowski.
But he's playing Kramer. He just the same physical comedy.
It's similar energy, but it's a little bit
stupider,
sadder.
Yeah,
yeah. Apparently, he was really struggling with some sort of facial paralysis at the time, which is part of I think part of the reason why his face is a little bit different here. Yeah, he almost dropped out of the movie from it.
Oh.
And he brings in this janitor and utterly humiliates him and fires him
because he thinks he lost the file.
And then it turns out he was just sitting in the file the whole time. But he never rehires him back.
This is important for my story, George. They take his mop away, and he's like, "This is my mop. I had it since I was 8. No, not my mop." Remember?
Yeah, the mop is very important.
Toss him out. Said, "We're keeping this mop."
George shows up, tries to give him the package. Fletcher's a huge asshole to him. And then George sees them take Kramer's mop, and George hires him to be the janitor at his station.
Yes, because he just wants to be a janitor. It's like
he loves being a janitor. Yeah, he got a mop when he was 8 years old. He was like, "Can you do an imitation of Kramer's voice in this movie?" I think it's important.
I don't think so.
Couldn't you say if he had fake teeth in too?
I was wondering if he had fake teeth.
Yeah.
I think he might.
It was kind of like Kramer, but he was talking. I know that's mean. I don't want to do it.
That's Napoleon Dynamite you just did.
Oh, was it?
I think so.
Yeah, he moves in a very it's Kramer, but it's like Kramer like a few degrees down.
I remember that. I remember him, the actor. There was a show called Fridays. Did you even know that show? It was like on ABC.
Was it on Fridays?
They wanted to compete with Saturday Night Live. And
you have mentioned this before, I think.
He was on that show. He was like a main guy. I remember him.
Like a sketch comedy show.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Now we see Billy Barty. I don't know if we're skipping a few things.
Because that's the next thing. The movie jumps. Like, Fran Drescher is now the newscaster.
And Billy Barty's the cameraman. And he's a small person. They're making kind of a weird joke here because they're watching his camera shots and it's all worm's eye view. Not to speak too much Filmology,
the character's
people.
name.
Worm's
I do
eye
want to
view,
say,
bird's eye view. Straight
I guess that's
view.
the joke. I thought they were going to do an up the skirt thing for Fran Drescher.
Oof, no, that would.
But they did not. Yeah. His character's name is Noodles McIntosh. That's just fun to get in there.
Noodles McIntosh. I totally missed that.
And they're trying to cover something about the mayor's budget meeting, and like the bad guy John B. the Genie, RJ Fletcher's son, trips Billy Barty, and
it scrapes his arm.
Pretty bad, yeah. And then the Italian stereotype guy comes in and says, "Broads don't belong in broadcasting," to Fran Drescher.
Yep.
We cut to Fran Drescher on the phone calling up Fletcher, saying like, "I don't think this is the way that you should have your people be talking to women." And Fletcher, the evil guy again, he's like, "I told him never call chicks broads. Ha 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 ha."
Yes, I remember that. And she's
so
like,
Tim, my list is I made other things to never call chicks or broads. You ready?
Good.
Yep. Number 1, narrows.
Narrows. Oh,
Broads.
broad narrows.
Yep.
Got it.
Number 2, small, freshly hatched birds.
Narrows. I mean, broads. Chicks.
Yep.
Chicks.
3, callback. UHF, uncannily hairy females. Yep. Number 4, Weird Al. Never call a woman Weird Al.
Nice.
And the number 5 thing to never call a chick or a broad, never call them late for dinner.
Correct.
Yep. All right. Sorry. That was my list, Tim.
Guess what?
What? You have a list too?
I do.
What's yours?
People are turning off the podcast now.
Oh, there's nobody listening anymore.
Other places broads don't belong.
Whoa! Wait, I love that we both. I love that we worked out our latent sexism. This way.
know. Broads don't belong in Broadway shows about dying salesmen.
Okay. Yep. I think all could be Broadway shows, Tim.
Broads don't belong in broad comedies about killing salesmen.
Oh.
Broads don't belong in broadleaf trees. They're a hardwood tree because if a broad climbs a broadleaf tree, you can see her bloomers. That's my stupid list, which we'll take out and just leave yours in.
No, I think we have to keep both in.
Now we see Emo Phillips, or if I skip anything?
Yeah, Emo Phillips, yeah.
People, if you don't remember Emo Phillips, he was also a comedian. Owes a lot to Pee Wee because he played a character, a guy who just talked like, "I went to the doctor, and he asked me if I could read." And then there'd be a joke, but I don't have a joke.
Yeah, he just kind of, I don't even know how to describe the character. He's just kind of like a weird, disaffected, like, he speaks like he's very bored or like depressed.
I went to the doctor and I said I ate alphabet soup and I have diarrhea. And the doctor said, "Did you spell disaster?" Yeah, that's an old joke.
Is that really?
That's not my joke. No, that's not one of his.
Is that an Emo Phillips joke? Okay.
No, that's a diarrhea joke.
Well, I know that. So he's like a shop teacher doing like, it's a show called Town Talk that George Weird Al hosts. And like Emo Phillips is showing him how to use a table saw, and he like just cuts off his thumb.
Bleeds everywhere.
And like the joke is just like what blood.
That is
kind of
joke.
surprising.
Yes.
Yeah. I was like, wow.
We had an arm cut off and a thumb cut off. This is my kind of movie.
Yeah, you're right.
Just needed a trolley car.
Oh, you know what else we didn't mention? There was a trolley car, Tim.
Where?
In the Indiana Jones thing, the guy who is the Alfred Molina character steps out of the temple, gets run over by a trolley.
Yeah.
This is the most Tim movie ever. Holy shit. Oh, this is where the Spatula City is at.
Mm-hmm. I got that.
Then there's a show, Uncle Nutsy's Funhouse, which is like a kid's show. This is probably, to me, the funniest part of the movie. There's 2 scenes that made me actually laugh.
Not this one. Well, anyway,
I'm gonna reenact it. It's just the shockingness of it. Where Weird Al comes out, he's like a cringy kids show host doing a dance. There's like 5 or 6 kids in the audience, like on camera, clearly bored.
Yep.
And he goes up to this one kid. He's like, "Hey, what's your name?" The kid's like, "Billy." And he goes, "Billy what?" And the kid just hocks a loogie in his face.
Oh yeah, that grossed me
and it was
out.
just like, it was disgusting. It was a real loogie. It's kind of funny because you could see the kid is laughing.
Kid laughed, yeah.
Yeah, but like, man, that's some testament to the craft.
They didn't want him to laugh. Do you think there was one take, and then Al's like, "That's enough"? Or can you imagine 20 takes of him spitting?
I think I picture Weird Al Yankovic as probably like a very nice man, right?
Yeah,
and like, but I imagine him being like, "You know what? We're only doing one take," because it's disgusting.
Yes.
His friend Bob, who just keeps dropping out of the movie, he appears as a clown, and like he just humiliates him. He beats him with a frying pan and makes him eat dog biscuits.
His poor roommate doesn't get a lot of play in the movie, I have to say.
It's weird. I feel like there was a version of the script where he must have had more, right? Like it seems like they're always together in these shticks.
Yeah,
he disappears from the movie for like an hour at one point, and when he comes back, I'm like, oh shit, this guy was in this movie.
I think they didn't get along as roommates.
I think Al said like, Bob, I love you and you're my friend, but the mullet is barely hanging on. You're about to go completely bald in like 1 year. You need to start thinking about trimming that back. And they never recovered friendship wise.
Or when they hired him, he said, I misread when I read your name. I thought you were David Bowie, but we hired you. So you're here.
Can you sing any glam rock hits? No? Well, okay, I'm going to hit you with a frying pan and make you eat dog biscuits.
And here's our one video, which I thought there might be more, but because that's his.
I was kind of shocked too. And I remember seeing this video on MTV separately, like this.
Oh, okay.
So what is the video, Tim?
It's sung to Dire Straits' Money for Nothing and sings about the Beverly Hillbillies.
Like I don't know. So yeah, it's just the Beverly Hillbillies theme song set to Money for Nothing and like computer generated Beverly Hillbillies and Weird Al's.
Cutting edge CG illustrated.
Yeah, I guess at the time they probably spent half the budget on this thing.
I think then we cut to Victoria.
Yep.
She is at a dinner restaurant because it's her birthday and Weird Al is supposed to come join her for a big dinner, and she's got a dress with giant.
What? She looks funny.
Giant shoulder pads. Humongous.
She looked like Dottie from Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Yes.
Like they were. I wonder if that was on purpose.
But those. I think the shoulder pads were a joke on purpose. They were so big, George. They were so big.
Oh wait, is this the list?
They're so big, George. They're illegal in most states.
They, Tim?
They're illegal in most states due to the fact that they disrupt the routes of migrating birds. They're so big, George.
How big were they,
Some
Tim?
people don't believe that NASA actually landed a man on one of them in 1969.
I'm one of those people who doesn't believe that, Tim. I don't believe that in 1969 people landed on the shoulder pads that Victoria Jackson wore in the movie UHF 20 years later.
Well, they're so big, George,
that
her peripheral vision is blocked and she can never see when velociraptors are stalking her.
I would believe that part.
Yeah, that's true.
How bad will you feel, Tim, when we release this episode and a day later it turns out Victoria Jackson was killed by velociraptors? I wouldn't feel very bad, I'll be honest. I'd actually be excited that dinosaurs made a comeback.
Yes. We need them back.
So, George forgets to show up to this dinner. Her parents are there, too.
Because he's working at the station. He's trying to...
this is important. He's working on the budget, and Bob tells him the station will be broken in a month. Yep. Gives us a ticking clock. She dumps him. So next day we're at Uncle Nutsy again. He's super sad because he's been dumped.
Kramer takes over.
He puts Stanley Spadowski in charge. Like he puts Stanley in charge. He goes off to a bar to start drinking to become an alcoholic, he says. And by the time they get to this bar, people in the bar are already super excited about what Stanley's doing.
Kramer is on TV,
like the bar's
inspiring
packed.
them.
He pulls a lizard out of his pants. It was very upsetting.
Then they get upset because he says the N-word. Yeah. Sorry.
Do we need to explain that for reference?
I don't know. I think people know Michael Richards had a problem.
Michael Richards committed career seppuku by yelling the N-word from stage, and I think he's never been seen since.
Well, he's got a lot of money, so
this is like a weird time. Like I feel my theory is that this bar was like in Europe, because by the time they get there, the Stanley Spadowski show's already a hit. By the time they come back from this bar, Fran Drescher has like all these stacks of messages and stuff, and it's this big hit. So he hires Stanley to be, but it's all one day still, because he's like, you want to do it every day? He's like, I still get to be the janitor, right, George? He's like, yes. And now we're in the plot where like all these weird shows start happening.
Now it makes sense.
But we've seen, but up until this point, we've seen so many weird ads and shit and things. It's like, and like stuff. They should have had this earlier, I guess.
Or they could have made the bad programming funny in a bad way. That's all. Just deadpan.
It's all the same sort of wacky stuff you would see in a Weird Al video.
They have Wheel of Fish.
Yep.
Karate instructor. What does he do? He has a game show. Oh,
it's literally like Wheel of Fortune, but like it's different fish, and then you could either choose to keep the fish or what's under the box. And when the woman chooses the box, there's nothing there. He yells his "You're so stupid" line at her. Yeah.
So the engineer from the station teaches about animals. like turtle.
No. Actually, you're confused. There's Secrets of the Universe with Philo, and then there's Raoul's Wild Kingdom, where it's like this guy who I used to see him in everything. There was an actor, you would see him on all these shows.
Well, he died while filming this. You read that?
I know. It's so fucking sad. Yeah. I was going to make a joke about how like that this guy died because he licked my other favorite line. So it's Raoul's Wild Kingdom. He's just a dude who has wild animals in his apartment. I think we've all met guys like this. They live in a lot of cities. And he's like talking about turtles, and he goes, "Turtles are nature's suction cup." And he licks the turtle and throws sticks to the ceiling. I laughed. I was
that
like,
was an okay joke.
Yeah. And I bet you hated his next joke, though.
Well, wasn't that funny? He's throwing poodles out the window, hoping they'll fly.
I was shocked, right? He's teaching poodles how to fly, and he throws a poodle out the window. We hear flap, flap, flap. No, we hear just yap, 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 and splat. And then we go out, and there's like a pile of dead poodles outside. I'm like, didn't they hear like that's the way to kill your movies, to have a dead dog in it? They have a pile of dead dogs. I get people don't like poodles per se. It's still a dog.
Yeah, in a cartoon, famously, two little kids played baseball with a frog, and people like flipped out. It's called Beavis and Butthead. People.
Beavis and Butthead.
Look it up. Look it up, kids. Beavis and Butthead. All the parents are down.
Listen to Seddy Bimco for your old-timey references.
Beavis and Butthead, that's like brand new. Come on. He makes a badger joke, which was a bit strained.
That's a little bit later, yeah. Okay. But yeah. When I was a kid, I didn't get that.
Yeah.
He does. So the character who played it, he has like a Mexican accent. So there's a bit when he's getting an animal delivery, and they're like, and here's the badgers. He goes, "Badgers? We don't need no stinking badgers." Just like from, that's not Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. What is that from? Is it Good, the Bad, and the Ugly?
Well, they say
if only we had a co-host who had a show called Freddy and Spaghetti where he would know.
Yeah. It was also said in...
Right in Cablasto. See if you actually listen.
Blazing Saddles, I think.
Was it in that too?
I think they parodied it there too.
Yeah, it's probably the original source, Lost to Time.
Lost to Time. Might have been Star Wars.
Oh, I left at this part too. Conan the Librarian. Honestly, the most obvious joke in the world. The only part I left was the bit when the guy goes up and he goes, "I'm sorry, my book's a little bit late." Just the edit of Conan going, "Oh," and then cleaving the guy in half down the middle. It was very quick. That sight gag made me laugh.
Because it is the most obvious joke.
It's like, as a little kid on the playground, like the second we learned to, like, first off, I knew who Conan was from the comics. I thought his name was Conan. Then the movies come, we're like, oh shit, it's Conan. Then we immediately made by librarian jokes. So and it's like,
you're a little bit younger. You're a Simpsons like aficionado.
Simpsons, yeah.
And I was watching it live with a friend one night, and we were just watching the credits. And, Conan O'Brien worked on that show. And both of us were like, someone named Conan writes Simpsons? We'd never heard a person with that name before Conan O'Brien. We're like, whoa, someone named Conan.
I wonder if he's a barbarian.
Yeah. I wonder if he's
Those
Irish.
Are good seasons.
Yes, of course. We see a couple parodies. We see a parody of the Jerry Springer show where he's got Nazis on and they get a fight.
Like, you're right.
And we see a parody of...
George gets hit in the face with a chair, which... Did that happen to...
Yeah, Geraldo.
Jerry...
He broke his nose.
Geraldo Rivera, yeah.
They do Gandhi, too, which I thought was a funny joke a little bit.
Yeah, what was the joke that was
Gandhi
this time?
He's got a gun. He's
violent now, yeah.
Yeah, he's back. He means business. But how are you going to do... They find out they need $75,000 to save the station, George. Do I need to play the music? You're not excited?
I do it.
Okay.
George's currency Kerner. I'm going to explain. So they need $75,000 because Uncle has lost he's lost on all the horses, and so the guy who I thought was going to be David Bowie, Big Louie, his bookie is like, you need to give me $75,000.
Well, this is because Fletcher tells him to, because Fletcher wants them out of business. They're doing better than his station. Just to get the plot.
I didn't 100% put together what was Fletcher doing. I thought that was just working out well for Fletcher's behalf, because Fletcher they're doing number one in the ratings now, and Fletcher is all super mad.
Yeah, Fletcher wants to shut down.
So they have $75,000. Yeah, and Fletcher calls immediately afterwards. He's like, "I'll buy it." So George learns that he's gonna be out of business and everything he tried to do on all his new shows. One of the new shows was called Leave It to Bigfoot. Tim,
I played the music, and you didn't do what 75.
Oh, you're right. George Kearns, $75,000. Tim, what is that worth today?
Probably $1 million.
No, only $189.731.25. Not anything to scoff at, but
nope.
Yep. That was the longest ever time between a current currency Kerner.
Yeah, it was. That broke records.
So now it's like the typical plot where it's like the kids at the fat kid camp are like working against the rich kid, because like all the people at Channel 62 are working to like turn the tables on
the fat kid camp. Did you say?
Like, it's always a movie where it's like the kids at like the poor camp or the fat kid camp or the heroes and stuff, like the underdogs, so to speak.
Telethon.
Yeah, they're going to have a telethon, but like Philo puts in cameras in Fletcher's office. He sneaks in and stuff. Yeah. And so, and like George asks his Aunt Esther to like say, give us a chance. So they have 48 hours to make this $75,000. They're going to have a telethon to sell shares of the station. And
Kramer is the star of the show, we should mention. Kramer, Mr. Stanley Kramer. He's the star of the show. He's a natural.
Which I don't get the appeal. I did laugh when he blew the kid across the stage with a fire hose. That was fun.
So the bad guys come and kidnap Kramer Stanley.
So they abduct him from the.
They say we got pizza, and
the
just take him to a place where gangsters play cards, and he's really annoying, and his blindfold falls off, and he sees his original mop, and he hulks out. He's like, my mop, and he beats everybody up, but he does get caught again after like.
Well, he's being held at Channel 62. He breaks loose when he sees his mop. I can't believe you left this out. Because he gets the mop.
I know.
And he waves it and it makes a lightsaber noise. I'm like, Tim must have jumped up and down and done a backflip.
I did.
And he escapes into an office, which turns, and he puts all these chairs and stuff. He's in R.J. Fletcher's office. So, of course, Philo sees this happening and he tells George, and George runs out to go save the day.
George Weird Al.
Yep. And no, not me. He didn't tell me. George Weird Al, the character.
And they do Rambo in his head.
It's such a long Rambo sequence.
Pretty good jokes.
Yep. I mean,
and I love his skin suit. They got the color right, and it looks so weird.
It looks, from certain angles, it looks really good.
Yes.
It was a little paunchier on the midsection sometimes. But I'm like, I want that muscle suit.
Yeah, they did a good job. No CG back then, people.
Yeah, he's blowing up people.
That to him.
Yeah. If I were Weird Al and I was in a movie where they made a muscle suit for me like that, I'd be like, can I just keep this?
He probably did. Yeah,
and I just wear it under my shirts all the time. Be like, I'm just so buff.
Well, they took it off.
There's a scene that we should mention. At some point in this, Fletcher encounters the wino that hangs out in front, who's of the station, who's asking him for change, and he gives him a penny.
Yep.
And the guy is super excited. He's like, oh, wow, thanks, mister. You gave me a penny. Tim, start the current currency kerner.
Oh, okay.
George's current Do you know, Tim, what in 1989 currency, what a penny is worth today?
89 comic books were like $1.
Yep.
So today it's $5. I mean, 5 cents.
Close.
5 cents.
Oh, actually, you are close. 3 cents.
Ooh.
That was your episode of Current Currency Kerner.
Better all the time.
So back to the story. Like, yeah, George has this whole weird thing where it's basically Rambo Part 2, the one where he's rescuing POWs in Vietnam. He rescues Kramer and he's blowing up guys with arrows and stuff. And like, I was kind of like, I can't decide if this is really happening.
But then I knew it was in his head, but again, it didn't push the plot ahead.
Yeah, because then like we go through this whole sequence of like, I will say like a full 5 to 6 minutes of him just blowing up people and silly sight gags and stuff. And then he runs in the room and is like, goes at people, and then the goons immediately capture him too.
Yep.
But then luckily seconds after, Getty Watanabe and the other karate guys come up and beat up all the guys. Yep.
Karate saves the day. Karate.
As always, karate really is the theme in Seddy Bimco movies.
And
they race him back to the telethon. It's like 2 minutes to closing. They're up to $70,000. But Uncle Harvey's there. They're like, we just need a few minutes. We're going to get it. And he's like, Big Louie's very punctual. And the limo's pulling up. And R.J. Fletcher's there. And he's like, I'm here to make the deal.
David Bowie's in the limo.
Yep. And David Bowie's in the limo. And George is watching. This George, not Weird Al, is watching. Be like, oh, boy, I can't wait to see superstar musician David Bowie in a cameo. I definitely remember that as having happened. And Fletcher, because he's just the biggest asshole in the world, before he discloses the deal, he has to get up on stage and say things about people being assholes and stuff.
Yeah.
And then the wino comes up to George Newman, and he's like, I want to buy $2,000 worth of shares.
Mm-hmm.
Tim.
Currency
Kerner. Do you want to guess what $2,000 is worth?
$5,000.
Right? Yes, Tim.
Yes. Yay.
5,000, specifically 5,059.50.
I've done it. I did it.
Yes. Well, good news, everybody, because Tim has finally guessed within a reasonable amount of current currency Kerner. We can end this podcast.
It's over.
So thank you all for listening. Please subscribe to our other podcasts. We have none. This is all we have. Yeah. Well, what's the new one, Tim?
All about Rudolph. All about Rudolph.
All about Rudolph.
No, cut that out.
Not the reindeer.
No.
Other Rudolphs in history.
Other Rudolphs, not the reindeer.
They're probably all Nazis, though. So. So now George has the $75,000 because Fletcher's up there being an asshole. He gives the money to Big Louie. He wins the station. A lot of stuff. A lot of comeuppance happens.
She's a real Rudolph. No, she's not a Rudolph. She's a real Santa because she's like, hey, you're successful. I'm coming back. Hell, George, Weird Al.
Is Santa a fair weather friend? I never realized that.
Well, Rudolph, they hate him until he's useful.
Oh, you're fucking right.
So
within the Rudolph lens,
she is a
you're
Santa.
Absolutely right. He doesn't stick up. He's like, look, I'm all for my reindeer being like just racist assholes, but your particular problem actually benefited me. So why don't I strap you to this cart and have you drag me all around the world?
Yes.
Santa is a monster.
Victoria comes back and they do one last parody of Gone with the Wind because she's successful again.
Oh, I do want to mention a few little details.
I bet you I know what you're going to say, but go ahead.
Let's see. Fletcher loses his FCC license because he was a jerk and the FCC license guy heard it. Fran Drescher is there to cover it for the news. Billy Barty trips his son Jambi.
Yes.
And he falls into the mud and he cries, Daddy. Philo is revealed to be an alien with a large Marge type clay face, and he flies off in outer space.
And you know who did the animation?
It's got to be the same guy who did Large Marge. Was it Will Vinton?
It was the Cheeto brothers from Killer Clown fame.
Oh, the Kyoto brothers from Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Nice.
It was the Kyoto brothers from Killer Clowns.
Who did Large Marge too, right?
I forget now.
I think they did. Let's see. The old lady clubs Fletcher while he's down, and then the wino comes up and reveals that the penny he gave him was super valuable. He used it to buy a Rolex, which Fletcher did not get from his son. And I'm like, actually, that's a kind of a tight script in a weird way.
It is.
Yep. And they do the Gone with the Wind spoof, which like utterly lost at any, like that in the Beverly Hillbillies. I was definitely the age group they were shooting for when this movie came out back in the day. And I'm like, I don't get this.
Sadly, it won't age well for you kids today.
Yep.
So many references.
And that's the end. UHF.
And you know what we do with this show?
What do we do, Tim?
I like to say how these movies are like Star Wars, similar to Star Wars, ripped off Star Wars. And you know what?
Yep.
In this movie, Billy Barty played a cameraman. And in one scene, as we said, Fletcher's thugs trip him and he scrapes his elbow pretty badly. Well, coincidentally, back when people were auditioning for parts in Star Wars, Billy Barty showed up to audition for the part of R2-D2, but Kenny Baker was there. He tripped Billy. Billy scraped his face and hands. He had to go to the ER. Thus, he lost the role of R2-D2 to Kenny Baker.
One of my favorite recurring gags on the show is your Billy Barty Kenny Baker rivalry.
Thank you. I think it's wrong.
I think Billy Barty actually got to act in movies where you could see his face. Kenny Baker sat in a garbage pail.
Oh,
yeah. He was in Time Bandits though.
He was.
Now I like to counter Tim's excessive Star Wars references. I like to counter with what the movie has in common with 1987's Labyrinth. And
Mm.
both movies starred David Bowie.
Yes. That's right. They did.
Yep.
He had a bigger part in Labyrinth.
A bit bigger. Also, he was actually David Bowie in that one. He wasn't this poor guy who, I looked at that David Bowie's IMDb and like he had a moderately successful career, but I can't help but wonder if the guy's name was a little bit different, if he would have had more luck. Because
well, his original name was Davy Jones, and he changed it to Davy.
It was David Jones. It's so close. He always leaves the last letter off.
It was David Jones, so he changed his name. Right.
That's David Jones is David Bowie's real name.
Yep.
Look it up. We're not lying.
Look it up. And now revenge. Wherever you are, wherever you're hiding, I'll find you.
Revenge. You'll go first or should I go first?
I'll go first.
You have a short one this week. Tim showed me a list. 184 words you claimed?
Yeah.
count it home. Let us know if he keeps to it. Write to us, Seddy Bimco with an E at the end, gmail.com. All right, go Tim.
List, George. So Michael Richards' character is Stanley, janitor.
Stanley Spadowski.
So in our sequel, he still wants... When he got kidnapped and found his mop, it still got left behind at Fletcher's building.
Actually, you're not even lying. It did. I noticed that. I was disturbed by it.
So he still wants revenge on Fletcher for taking his original mops he had since he was 8, and it's still in the offices of Fletcher, the man who kidnapped him. So in that old TV station, you know what he found, George? In the station that Weird Al owned with all this crazy stuff in it, Stanley found a book of magic.
I believe it. This is totally in keeping with this movie.
Could be the Necronomicon. And curiously, Stanley opened that magic book to see if he could summon his old mop from Fletcher's evil clutches. And he found a spell that brought mops to life. He followed the detailed directions, and indeed, the mop came to life, and it walked like the broom, in Fantasia. Walked.
Oh, did he hack it apart with an axe?
It walked all the way across town, and the mop walked into that little TV station that Stanley worked at, and that mop was angry. It wanted revenge because Stanley left it behind, and plus Stanley had accidentally summoned an evil spirit that had possessed the broom. And that mop...
Who was the evil spirit?
The L. Ron Hubbard. He possessed it. Now we're in trouble. And that mop, it killed Stanley and wrapped him up in Weird Al's favorite rug. And when George found him in his favorite rug, you know what he do? You know what he did, being that they were in Oklahoma? He wrote a parody song based on Poor Judd, his favorite song from Oklahoma. Wrote a parody song about his rug. So let's listen to that song.
Did you record something?
Oh, my rug is red, my good rug is red. So red. It's covered in poor Stanley's sticky blood. So sticky. I really liked him so. He never really knowed. I owed him several $100 bills. There's 2 verses. My rug is red.
Keeps going.
Rug is red. It shows how Stanley really died. He brought his mop to life, and it cut him like a knife. Oh, why did poor Stanley have to die? So sorry.
I like your recorded comments.
That's it. You can parody something once, so Rodgers and Hammerstein hopefully will not sue the show.
Let's hope not. I think they're dead.
I used the music. Someone owns it.
That was pretty impressive, Tim.
My rug is red. I
feel like I should have gone first because I don't have a song recorded.
It's okay. It's okay. All right. Quick. Want me to play my guitar?
No. All right. The one time you did that, I was utterly distracted. All right. So my sequel, that was great, Tim. That was really...
Thank you.
I don't even know the fucking song. And I was like, that's great.
Now you're going to have to listen.
I'm not gonna. So my sequel takes place years after. So, everything seems like it's oh happy here, but if you really follow logically, this is a narrowly won victory that's going to quickly unravel. So I'm setting the stage for what we're looking at the sequel.
Okay.
Stanley Spadowski has been fired for making racist comments on the air. Yeah, the Wheel of Fish is canceled for starring, which is essentially a racist caricature. It's like a little iffy, but they're like, Raoul's Wild Kingdom was unfortunately canceled due to the actor's unfortunate demise in real life. That sucks. Philo, we know, returns to space. Yes. Fran Drescher leaves to be a nanny.
Right.
Billy Barty is trapped in an R2-D2 costume. Nobody can find him. He's slowly starving to death.
Wasn't he in the prequel?
No, he didn't get that. There was a Star Wars convention in Oklahoma, and he just got trapped in. They left him in a warehouse. In years to come, we'll discover his mummified corpse. Terry, George's girlfriend, becomes a right-wing nut job.
Yes. And
so his life is just falling to pieces, and this is all he's like, And so, at least he still has a little bit of an edge in the ratings. Like, he hasn't been stamped out yet because the big local affiliate, RJ Felcher. What was his fucking name?
Felcher.
RJ Fletcher.
I think it was Felcher.
RJ Fletcher.
It sounds like a fart.
Well, that's not a fart. A Felch is, Tim. RJ Fletcher loses his license, but his son steps up and they find a loophole. He does change his name from Fletcher to Felcher. Tim, do you know what Felcher is?
Felching. I don't want to say what I think it is.
Folks, look it up on urbandictionary.com. And he changes his name. Instead of being R.J. Fletcher Jr., he becomes B.J. Felcher. And he starts playing some... He makes the net... They lost their network stuff. They turn to a little bit bluer programs. Kind of like Skinamax stuff. They start winning against Channel 62 in the ratings. And George, he becomes desperate. And he's like... I gotta, like, my entire life, all my interesting shows have left. My girlfriend became a crazy person. I'm going to become a new man. And he starts making smutty porn versions of shows.
Okay.
And he names this, he starts it on Thursday. He calls it Must See Smut. And these are some of the shows he has, okay? Friends with Benefits. Skin Field. It's like you felt skin. Yeah, Skin Felt. Would that be better?
Skin Felt.
Yeah, yep. Family Ties up a young drifter in their basement.
Okay.
The Orifice. That was a British show that they brought over. And they recast The Orifice.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, with Ricky Gervais.
Oh.
Yeah, okay. Gotcha. I had to fill that one, yeah. There was another show on the Must See Smut Thursday lineup, that was called Mad About Rim Jobs.
Oh, Jesus.
And the final show was The Naked Truth, which was an actual Tia Leone show that ran for one season on Must See TV.
Nice.
I looked it up. Yeah.
The Naked Truth. And were they naked?
I don't think so. I don't remember it, honestly. I hope people out there remember this.
George doesn't know. George didn't look.
Know.
Didn't want to look at that.
Tim, I was writing this. I had a lot to look at. And so he's premiering this new night of broadcasting in his guise as Uncle Nutsy. This is going to be his triumphant return. And he brings out his sidekick, Bob the Clown.
Uh-oh.
David Bowe, who has been his loyal friend, who just keeps getting dropped. On live TV, Bob beats him to death with a frying pan.
Wow.
For revenge for all the indignities he's heaped on him. And ironically, Tim, he gets the highest ratings of all time.
True.
But it doesn't matter because he's dead. The end.
For all the indignities, what did he do to him? Oh,
he dressed him up as a clown, hit him with a frying pan, made him eat dog biscuits, got him fired for multiple jobs. Yeah. And the movie was called UHF 2, which I actually meant to write an acronym for that. I forgot. So let's see. Unhappy.
Thursday should be Must See Skeevy.
No, because must and smut have the same words.
Oh, okay.
Same letters. UHF 2, it stands for Unhappily, Happily Forever.
Unhappily, Happily Forever. Okay.
Because it's a happy ending because he gets the highest ratings, but it's unhappy because he gets beaten to death.
That is unhappy.
Yeah. Speaking of, have you seen that video where it's been going viral recently, where Huey Lewis beats Weird Al to death with they're doing a spoof of American Psycho?
If you're being serious, no.
I'm being totally serious.
Okay,
it's that whole scene from the movie American Psycho where Christian Bale is telling the woman about how Huey Lewis's Sport is the greatest album of all time. And at the end, he murders her. There's this. Oh, you've never seen this movie? So they've done this whole thing where it's the actual Huey Lewis, and he's talking he himself, and he's talking about his album, explaining to Weird Al, and Weird Al's there drunk. And then he kills Weird Al for making a spoof of one of his songs or something. It's kind of funny. Look it up.
Is the news there?
No, I think Huey Lewis got rid of the news because they became the olds.
Jeez. Wow.
And if we had any listeners, they're gone now. All right.
Well,
Tim,
did it.
Do we have any mail?
We did it. Oh, we have no mail, but you can write us at Seddy Bimco with the E @gmail.com. Tell us anything.
Kevin,
do you have
Kevin Kablasto, write us. Tell us what that fucking movie is that Badges, we don't need no stinking Badges is from.
Yes, tell us your Billy Barty story, Kevin Kablasto. But you can listen to us every Wednesday. We're all podcasts are broadcast. And tell a friend's mother to tell her mother to tell another mother to listen to our show. Word of mouth is the best word that comes out of any mouth.
If every one of you tells two people and they listen and they tell two people, we'll have 5 listeners.
And George, next week.
Yes.
The pickings are getting thin as we're running out of states.
Almost out of states. I'm so excited because this was too long a thing we got involved in.
I grabbed something that Roger Corman produced.
Oh,
South Dakota.
Wow.
Filmed in Deadwood, I read. It's called The Beast from Haunted Cave. And there's a restored version on Tubi. It's really nice. You'll get to look at a nice print. Black and white, really old. George's favorites, but,
1959. But it's Corman.
And it's only an hour, George. It's like an hour and 11 minutes.
I like that. It's a horror heist film.
Horror heist.
Is there any nudity, Tim?
I doubt it, 1959.
Corman sometimes has it, though.
I doubt it. 1959? No.
I do, too.
It'll be a lady in the bathtub, and you just won't be able to see anything because of all the bubbles. Everybody in the bathtub in a movie is in a bubble bath. That's the rule.
Tim, I just typed in, this is so fucking funny. I typed in, because I had Beast from Haunted Cave up. I typed in nude and hit search. The second picture is a woman in a hot tub. Is in a bathtub with bubbles.
What's the first picture?
It looks as if it is maybe the same woman wrapped up in a spider web. It's hard to, I do not think she's nude, though.
Third one is
hard to tell.
Naked Roger Corman.
Third one is Naked Roger Corman. Run. She might be naked in the spider web. It's hard to tell, Tim.
All right. Well, I'll see you next week.
All right. See you next week.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Hey, everybody, come back next week. Say goodbye.
All right. Oh, bye, everybody.
Be safe out there. Don't give up. That's right.
This has been a Pity Party Line production.
Party line, it's a party line.
That's Wolverine singing, "Oh, Judd is dead. Judge Fry is dead."